Fourth area, plan and forecast. Another area that is very near and dear to my heart. Protect cash. In fact, I should put that on every slide because cash is king here. We cannot let the cash get drained out whatsoever. So you're going to want to forecast for the next 3 months, kind of line by line, and then estimate the following 3 and get into March. We've got to get to March. So the following 3, because we don't know what's going to happen through the winter, those can be kind of high level projections, but for the next 3 months, you should be more detailed in your forecast. You've got to protect cash. So back to making sure that you're making money before you pay rent, your forecast is going to help you do that. Then you can use it in a kind of a forward-looking offensive management style. I've got a buddy that wrote the evacuation procedures for Columbia Tower. And if there was not any procedures to get out of that building, it could be an absolute disaster. So it's really about creating the results that they want rather than just letting them happen. So it's a great example in that case. It also allows you, when you're forecasting, to dominate your costs because you know where you want them to be and control your business and not vice versa. Planning and forecasting also allows you to run your business forward. So you can anticipate expenditures because you will have some small things pop up, as we've seen with restaurants closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. We've seen a lot of awful strange things happen, such as ice machines that are used to being on all the time don't work anymore, walk-ins go down, pieces of equipment fail. So when you're running your business forward and you're planning your forecast, and that actually allows you to put something aside for those expenditures rather than just getting clobbered by them every other period or every period in some cases. Build a habit of forecasting and do that by day. And in a lot of cases, you're going to need to do it by hours. You're going to constantly want to be kind of evaluating your hours because they shift pretty dramatically, and we're in for a big shift here. We don't know what it's going to look like when school starts up. We do know that school in the vast majority is not going to go back. It is going to start online. So that's going to cause some issues around hourly sales. So this is going to be a huge opportunity, I believe, for those first couple of weeks of class as parents are kind of worn out by trying to figure out what to do. And they've got pods going on, and they're sharing each other's houses and doing small classes and all of those kind of things. And it's a good opportunity to have dinner made for them in these kits that can be assembled, or offering some takeaway food. But I think there's going to be a pretty good demand, and you've got to get out in front of it and market. School is going to start up here in the next week or so. So you're going to want to get out and market pretty heavily your kits for those first couple of weeks of school and build those into your forecast. And you're going to want to discuss your forecast every week with your team. So compare them to the goals that you've set out, see what's going well and what isn't. Use those for purchasing and scheduling. Again, absolutely do not build inventory, because we don't know if there could be a shutdown at any point, and you don't want to be, or a reduction in dining, and we don't want to be sitting on a bunch of inventory. So only order what you need, with keeping in mind your vendors have expenses too, and they will become more expensive if you have to order 7 days a week. So back to consolidating your vendors, buying more product from fewer vendors is definitely the best strategy during this time, and be nimble and pivot. So if there are adjustments, make sure you use the work share program for the state, or furlough, or reduce down to limited service if you need to. So be nimble and pivot. That is the key to all of this. We've seen a lot of really great things happen and a lot of things that didn't work as people tried to pivot. So plan and forecast, how will you pivot if there is another reduction, and let's say they take away indoor dining altogether. I don't know that they will, but if they did, what then over the next couple of months? So make sure you have contingency plans and forecast for those things. So
Rick, I have a question on the inventory part.
Yeah.
Right now, we're seeing in a lot of our supply chains shortages of different ingredients. And that's making it a challenge to perhaps consolidate with one or two vendors. For example, in the pizza industry, there's a shortage of meat products, especially pepperoni. And I know in other sectors, there's other shortages. How does one navigate that challenge at the same time trying to consolidate their vendors and their processes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what you want to do is you want to meet with that vendor and make sure that you are a priority. So if the vendor is honest up front, you can source another vendor. If you can't consolidate your vendors, you can't consolidate them. But sometimes we see, we buy cheese from this person and we buy mushrooms from that person and we buy over here and we buy over there, and some of those products can be consolidated into one vendor. But meeting with your vendors on a regular basis, not just the sales people, but just get to the core of the procurement people and make sure that you have an understanding of how much capacity those vendors have and what they see coming. That's been some of the most helpful things as we have gone into this. For example, we may have had a shortage early on certain cuts of meat, and we were able to pivot because we work with the meat vendors. We were able to pivot to different cuts. Maybe not as luxurious, maybe not as great, but you can come up with great recipes for certain cuts of meat. So working with the vendors in anticipation, they know what's coming. Their supply chain is a lot further out than ours is. We pick up the phone, we order a lot of times, where they have to procure things, they have to have it shipped in. They know a shortage is coming. So working with them to make sure that you're covered is going to be the key to this whole thing.